the internet hit a new low overnight, and the fallout is spiraling out of control. What started as whispers on fringe blogs has now exploded into full-blown outrage, legal threats, and emergency damage control. After Tasha K was accused of pushing unverified claims,
Papoose is out here looking for a trick. And he got one. Yes, beautiful girl. Beautiful. Gorgeous girl. Y'all ain't gonna tell me Claressa ugly. I'm sorry, she's not. She don't care what 50 Cent got to say. At this point, the way 50 Cent running through women around here, I don't even think he really like women like
so extreme that fans, insiders, and even industry professionals are calling it dangerous. At the center of the storm, Claressa Shields, whose name was suddenly dragged into a wave of reckless online speculation tied to Papoose, late-night rumors, and now wild conspiracy chatter spiraling completely out of control. What shocked people wasn't just the claims themselves. It was how fast they spread, how few receipts existed, and how quickly the narrative jumped from gossip to outright character assassination. Social media erupted in real time. Fans demanded accountability. Legal experts weighed in. Influencers backed away. And then came the most chilling part. Rumors started circulating that authorities were watching, sparking panic, retractions, and frantic live streams attempting to walk things back. No confirmations, no official statements, just chaos fueled by clicks. Now the conversation isn't about celebrity drama anymore. It's about responsibility, defamation, and what happens when chasing views crosses a line that can't be uncrossed. Because if this moment proves anything, it's that not every rumor survives daylight, and the consequences of spreading the wrong one can be career-ending. And what happens next could change how online gossip is handled forever. The moment the latest rumor wave hit social media, even veteran gossip watchers knew this one was different. Not louder, more dangerous. Screens lit up with alarmed reactions as Tasha K trended for reasons that went far beyond her usual shock value commentary. This time, the internet wasn't debating tea. It was questioning responsibility, legality, and how far online narratives can spiral before they cause irreversible damage. At the center of the firestorm was Claressa Shields, a world champion whose name was suddenly pulled into reckless speculation that many immediately called harmful and indefensible. What made the situation explode wasn't just that rumors were circulating. It was how fast they jumped from fringe whispers to viral outrage, and how little evidence existed to support them. Within hours, comment sections turned from gossip arenas into emergency rooms of public opinion. People weren't entertained. They were disturbed. Fans, journalists, and legal commentators began sounding alarms, pointing out that certain lines should never be crossed, no matter how competitive or chaotic the content space becomes. Screenshots flew, clips were dissected. Viewers accused Tasha of escalating beyond commentary into something that could have real-world consequences. And as pressure mounted, something unusual happened. People who normally thrive in mess went quiet. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields supporters went into full defense mode. Athletes, trainers, and public figures spoke out without naming names, condemning the spread of unverified health-related rumors as not just irresponsible, but dangerous. Many noted that such claims don't just harm reputations, they can impact mental health, safety, and professional standing. The tone across platforms shifted from drama to disbelief. Then came the Papoose connection. As if the situation wasn't volatile enough, speculation dragged Papoose into the conversation, tying his name to late-night rumor cycles and implying involvement without any substantiated proof. That association raised even more eyebrows, because it blurred the line between gossip and character assassination. Suddenly, multiple careers were being mentioned in the same breath, all because of unchecked online narratives. What escalated the situation further were whispers of law enforcement interest. To be clear, there were no confirmations, no statements, no filings, but the mere suggestion that authorities might be monitoring the spread of certain claims sent shockwaves through the content creator community. Live streams were abruptly deleted, videos were taken down or heavily edited, language softened overnight. That kind of reaction didn't look like confidence, it looked like panic control. Legal experts began chiming in across platforms, explaining defamation, liability, and the real consequences of repeating unverified allegations as fact. They reminded audiences that freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequence, especially when health status or criminal implications are involved. The message was clear. clicks don't outweigh accountability. Behind the scenes, insiders claimed damage control was happening fast. Advisors reportedly urged silence. Platforms allegedly flagged content. Supporters quietly distanced themselves. Even longtime viewers of Tasha K began questioning whether this was the moment where shock commentary crossed into self-destruction. The same audience that once rewarded extremity was now demanding restraint. Claressa Shields, notably, did not engage directly. No emotional response. No back and forth. That silence spoke volumes. To many, it read as dignity. To others, it read as confidence that truth doesn't need to fight rumors head-on. But her camp made one thing clear through indirect channels. These claims were false, harmful, and unacceptable. As the hours passed, the narrative shifted again. What started as "did you hear this?" became "how did this get this far?" Content creators began self-policing, warning each other about repeating unverified claims. Some issued apologies. Others reframed their coverage as criticism of rumor culture itself. The ecosystem that thrives on outrage suddenly realized it might be eating its own. And yet, the damage was already done. Search results were polluted. Screenshots were permanent. The rumor had legs, even as people tried to walk it back. That's the part many critics emphasized. Once something like this is released, retractions rarely travel as far as the original lie. The internet never forgets, even when it's wrong. As night fell, one thing became obvious. This wasn't about celebrity beef anymore. It was about the unchecked power of online platforms and the ethical vacuum that can form when engagement becomes the only metric that matters. Viewers weren't just watching drama, they were watching a cautionary tale unfold in real time. And this was only the beginning, because insiders warned that the next phase wouldn't involve rumors at all. It would involve consequences, legal, professional, and reputational. The kind that don't trend for fun, but linger long after the timelines move on. Whatever happens next, one lesson has already been burned into the culture. Not every story deserves to be told, and not every rumor survives scrutiny. As the internet braces for what comes next, one question hangs heavy in the air. Who will be held accountable when the chase for views crosses a line that can't be uncrossed? As the fallout intensified, the conversation shifted from outrage to fear. And that fear wasn't coming from fans alone. It was coming from creators, commentators, and insiders who suddenly realized this wasn't just another messy cycle that would burn out by morning. This situation carried weight, legal weight. And once that realization set in, the tone across the internet changed almost overnight. What made this phase even more unsettling was how fast people began backtracking. Videos disappeared, thumbnails were quietly changed, titles softened. Creators who had amplified the rumor hours earlier now spoke in disclaimers and hypotheticals. Some went live just to say they were covering the reaction, not the claim. Others deleted entire segments without explanation. That kind of coordinated retreat doesn't happen unless alarms are ringing behind the scenes. At the center of that alarm was Tasha K, whose name was now being mentioned not alongside gossip, but alongside legal cautionary tales. Critics began drawing parallels to past controversies, reminding audiences that she had already faced serious consequences before. The question wasn't whether she could weather another storm, it was whether this one could finally shut doors that never reopened. Legal analysts on social media started breaking things down in plain language. They explained that spreading false claims about someone's health status crosses into one of the most legally sensitive areas of defamation law. It's not just about reputation, it's about safety, discrimination, and provable harm. And once that explanation went viral, public sentiment hardened fast. Support that once existed evaporated. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields became an unexpected focal point, not because she engaged, but because she didn't. Her silence wasn't passive, it was strategic. She continued posting training footage, sponsorship content, and competition updates as if nothing had happened. To many observers, that was the strongest rebuttal possible. She didn't look rattled, she didn't look defensive, she looked focused. That contrast made the rumor look even uglier. Then came the pressure on platforms. Viewers began tagging YouTube, Instagram, and X under clips still circulating, calling for enforcement of policies around misinformation and harassment. Some flagged videos en masse. Others demanded demonetization. Whether or not action was taken immediately, the message was clear. Audiences were no longer willing to reward creators for crossing certain lines. This is where Papoose's name re-entered the conversation in a more serious way. Initially dragged in through speculation and insinuation, his connection now raised a different concern: collateral damage. Industry voices warned that reckless narratives don't just harm their targets, they stain anyone adjacent to them. And while no credible evidence tied him to the rumors being spread, his name being repeatedly mentioned alongside them risked reputational harm by association alone. Fans began pushing back hard against that. They called out how quickly online spaces were willing to blur boundaries, turning proximity into implication. Several creators issued statements clarifying that no proof existed tying Papoose to any wrongdoing and urging audiences to stop connecting dots that were never meant to touch. That pushback marked a turning point. The internet began correcting itself. Behind closed doors, insiders claimed conversations were happening that never reached timelines. Again, no confirmations, no official filings, but multiple sources claimed cease and desist conversations were happening quietly. Whether formal or informal, the effect was immediate. People stopped speculating and started protecting themselves. Because once legal language enters the room, entertainment exits. This moment forced a bigger cultural reckoning. Viewers began asking why stories like this gained traction in the first place, why shock still outperforms substance, why algorithms reward extremity until the damage is done. Comment sections filled with self-reflection instead of jokes. People admitted they clicked out of curiosity, then stayed out of disbelief. That collective pause mattered. For longtime observers, it felt like a line had finally been drawn, not by platforms, not by courts, but by audiences who decided some rumors aren't tea, they're poison. That shift doesn't happen often, and when it does, it signals something bigger than one controversy. It signals fatigue with cruelty disguised as commentary. As night fell on the second day of chaos, one thing became clear: no matter how this resolves, the ecosystem won't forget it. Creators will think twice, viewers will scrutinize harder, and those who push boundaries for clicks may finally face a reality where the risk outweighs the reward. But the story still wasn't over, because insiders warned that the next phase wouldn't be loud, it wouldn't trend. It would happen quietly, through legal channels, private negotiations, and long-term consequences that don't come with hashtags. And those are the outcomes no creator ever wants to explain on camera. As the internet waits, holding its breath, one truth is unavoidable. This wasn't just a rumor gone wrong. It was a stress test for online culture itself, and not everyone passed. And what happens next may determine whether this becomes a turning point, or just another lesson ignored until the next line is crossed. By the third phase of this controversy, the noise had thinned, but the consequences had sharpened. What once felt like a chaotic rumor storm had crystallized into something far more sobering: a case study in how quickly influence can become liability. The spectacle faded, replaced by a tense quiet where every move mattered and every word carried weight. This was the moment when people stopped asking what was said and started asking what would happen next. Industry insiders described a sudden chill across gossip spaces. Group chats went silent. Editors hesitated. Creators began auditing their own channels, scrubbing language, revisiting thumbnails, rethinking formats. It wasn't fear of backlash anymore, it was fear of permanence. Because unlike viral drama, legal and reputational consequences don't expire with the algorithm. At the center of the reckoning remained Tasha K, whose name had become shorthand for the risks of pushing commentary beyond verification. Critics weren't just calling for apologies. They were questioning the sustainability of a model that rewards shock over scrutiny. Even longtime supporters admitted something felt different this time, less like controversy, more like a crossroads. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields continued her disciplined silence. No subtweets, no clarifications, no defensive statements. To observers, that restraint became instructive. It demonstrated a strategy increasingly favored by public figures: deny rumors oxygen and let facts outlast noise. Sponsors didn't flinch. Training continued. Appearances stayed on schedule. The message was unmistakable. Credibility doesn't argue with speculation. It outpaces it. That contrast reframed public perception in real time. Commentators began acknowledging a hard truth. Attention can amplify lies faster than truth can correct them, but it can't make them durable. As days passed without confirmation, the rumors' edges dulled. What lingered instead was the question of responsibility: who bears it, how it's enforced, and whether the ecosystem has any brakes at all. The conversation widened beyond individuals. Media scholars and digital ethicists joined in, pointing to a structural problem. Platforms reward immediacy and intensity, not accuracy and restraint. Creators are incentivized to publish first, verify later, if at all. But this incident, they argued, exposed the cost of that system when claims touch health, safety, or criminality. These aren't just topics, they're tripwires. Even Papoose, whose name had been pulled into the storm through proximity rather than proof, became a lesson in collateral harm. Analysts noted how quickly association can be mistaken for implication, and how reputations can be grazed without ever being directly accused. The takeaway was blunt. In the age of virality, adjacency is enough to injure. Quietly, the industry adjusted. Creators began adding explicit sourcing disclaimers. Some shifted from rumor-forward coverage to reaction-based analysis, focusing on the consequences of misinformation rather than repeating it. Others pivoted entirely, rebranding toward commentary that critiques gossip culture instead of feeding it. These changes didn't trend, but they mattered. Then came the legal education phase. Short-form explainers about defamation, privacy, and platform liability began circulating widely. Viewers learned that repeating a claim can be just as risky as originating it. That intent doesn't always matter, impact does. And that monetizing harmful falsehoods can compound exposure. This wasn't a lecture from courts. It was peer-to-peer learning sparked by fear and clarity. As the dust settled, one realization stuck. Accountability online is uneven, but it's not imaginary. Consequences don't always arrive with sirens or headlines. Sometimes they show up as lost partnerships, cautious collaborators, restricted reach, and closed doors. Sometimes they look like silence where noise used to be. And sometimes they arrive later, when attention has moved on but records remain. The audience changed, too. Comment sections that once rewarded extremity began calling it out. Viewers asked for sources, they flagged content faster, they praised restraint. This wasn't moral awakening, it was fatigue. People were tired of being whiplashed by narratives that collapsed under scrutiny. Tired of harm disguised as just talking. Tired of finding out that the most shocking claim was also the least substantiated. By the end of the week, the story had inverted. It was no longer about the rumor. It was about the response to it, who corrected course, who doubled down, who went quiet, who learned, and who didn't. In that sense, the incident functioned as a mirror, reflecting the values of an ecosystem built on clicks and the limits of that model when pushed too far. No dramatic finale arrived, no viral confession, no courtroom spectacle, just a slow recalibration of risk. That may be the most important part, because the absence of spectacle is where real change happens, if it happens at all. If creators internalize the lesson, future coverage becomes more careful. If platforms enforce policies consistently, the incentives shift. If audiences continue to demand verification, the market responds. None of this is guaranteed, but this moment cracked the door, and the warning is clear. In a culture where everyone has a microphone, responsibility doesn't disappear, it multiplies. Influence without restraint becomes exposure. And the line between commentary and harm is thinner than ever. Whether this incident becomes a footnote or a turning point depends on what comes after the silence. But one thing is already settled. The era of consequence-free extremity is shrinking. And the creators who survive will be the ones who understand that credibility, once lost, is far harder to regain than attention ever was. If you stayed through all of this, understand something important. You didn't just watch internet drama, you watched a line get tested in real time. This wasn't entertainment for shock value. This was a moment that exposed how fast misinformation can turn into real-world harm, and how quietly consequences begin once the cameras stop rolling. Now is not the time to scroll past and forget it happened. If you believe creators should be held accountable, if you think truth matters more than clicks, and if you're tired of watching people's names get dragged for engagement with zero responsibility afterward, then make your voice part of the record. Hit like so this conversation doesn't disappear. Comment what stood out to you most, because the comment section is where the real temperature of the culture shows up. And subscribe, because stories like this don't end when the timeline moves on. They evolve when legal realities, platform decisions, and long-term fallout start surfacing. People will try to minimize this. They'll say it was just talk, just rumors, just content. But moments like this shape what comes next, what gets said, what gets rewarded, and what finally gets rejected. Staying engaged isn't about choosing sides. It's about choosing standards. So stay locked in, stay aware, stay critical. Because the next time a headline crosses the line, the only thing that determines whether it spreads or stops is whether people like you are paying attention.